Here we are, guys, in part 8 of this story. In the land of waves, our favorite blonde encounters the Kyuubi. Watch the subsequent events unfold as Naruto uses the power that was sealed inside of him on the day of his birth. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Now, let's begin. Naruto agreed to Hiyashi's requests to come by the Hyuga compound to help with Hinata's training for a little. Unfortunately, he received a few looks from some of the members of the clan, particularly the older members, as to why he was there. Some of the older Hyuga knew about Naruto's inhabitant and many of them felt that they should keep their distance from the boy. Even Hiyashi had tried to keep his daughters away from him out of fear of the unknown. However, that didn't tend to work out so well. Over the past month or so, the reports Kurenai had been giving Hiyashi on his daughter's progress had revealed something rather curious. It seems as if Naruto managed to have a positive effect on Hinata's confidence, and she even went as far as to attribute Hinata's accomplishment in the second exams as a result of Naruto's constant support. The other night, when he found Naruto actually helping her work on her gentle fist, normally he would have scolded her for even being anywhere near her. But when it was revealed that Naruto's intentions were for Hinata's benefit, and they actually seemed to get Hinata to truly focus, it was then he realized that perhaps the village had the boy wrong. Despite the elder's objections, it was worth a shot. Naruto, thank you for coming. I appreciate you taking some time out of your training to help with Hinata's, Hiyashi said as Naruto entered the Hyuga dojo. It's really not a problem, Naruto said, trying to find the words for what to call Hiyashi. Call me Hyuga-sama. It is a title of respect that my clan has worked hard to earn, Hiyashi explained. Alright, Hyuga-sama, Naruto struggled to get the last part out. He was not used to using honorifics with people's names, however this was something about this man that Naruto didn't want to test. The fox had even warned him to treat this man with respect. For the remainder of the week, Naruto focused his time between his own training and helping out Hinata a few hours each day. Hinata's technique was coming along quite well, with her gaining the ability to use the 32 palms and coming very close to perfecting the 64 palms. Naruto on the other hand had been struggling to perfect the Rasengan. Needless to say, Training Ground 7 was now a field of battered trees with large gashes in them as a result from Naruto's attempts at the Rasengan. By the night before the finals, Naruto had come close to being able to use it. It was at the point where he would have to find out tomorrow. Thanks to his talk with Hinata, he had no doubt in him. Even if he couldn't use the Rasengan yet, he would still find a way to kick Neji's ass. Naruto arrived at the stadium a few minutes before the third exam was scheduled to begin. Upon walking in, he saw everyone there, except for Sasuke and that Dosu guy. Naruto turned to look at Gaara. This is the guy Sasuke's fighting. Where is he? Thought Naruto. Have you found Sasuke yet? Asked the Hokage to one of his personal guards. The Hokage was located in a box on top of the stadium, overlooking the entire arena. We have a few Anbu teams looking for him, the guard said. With Orochimaru after him, I don't know what to say. The Hokage just gave a nod of understanding. Suddenly, something else caught his attention. Well, Kage Dono, said the Hokage, greeting his fellow Kage from Suna. Ino turned to Sakura in the stands. I know you're worried about Sasuke, but Naruto's match is up first, shouldn't you be worried about that? Sakura remained silent. While she was sure Sasuke would be fine, she still couldn't help but be worried for him. As the Kage and Hokage exchanged greetings, the Hokage stood up, ready to introduce the competitors to the audience. Thank you everyone for coming to the Hidden Leaf Chunin selection exams, announced the Hokage. We will now start the main tournament between the remaining 10 participants who made it through the preliminaries. Please stay and watch until the very end. 10. There was initially 11 and now there is only 9. What is going on? Thought Shikamaru. There is something I would like to tell you before the match starts, explained the proctor, holding up the tournament bracket. Please take a look at who you are fighting. The 9 contestants looked to see that Dosu was no longer on the bracket and that Shikamaru would face Temari in the first round. The winner of that match would then face the victor of the matches between Haku, Yugito, Sasuke, and Gaara. Finally, there would be a final one-on-one match to determine the overall winner. Hey, Sasuke isn't here yet, what are you going to do? Asked Naruto. If he doesn't show by his match time, he will lose by default, the proctor explained. That is strange. He would be here even if that meant dragging his broken body down here, thought Naruto. Baki looked down from the stands at Gaara and a suspicion came to his mind. It can't be. After all I told him not to draw attention, did he kill Sasuke, thought the Tsunajonin. Alright guys, this is the final test. The arena is different but the rules are still the same, explained the proctor. You will fight in one-on-one matches until one of you either dies or acknowledges defeat. However, if I determine that the fight is over, I will stop it, understood? The 9 competitors acknowledged. Now for the first fight, Naruto Uzumaki and Neji Hyuga, you two stay here while the rest of you go to the waiting room. Good luck Naruto, Hinata whispered as Neji shot her a dark look. In the stands, Kiba joined Sakura, Ino, and Choji, along with Kurenai and Asuma to watch the fight. Hey, this will be good, Kiba said. But against him, Naruto doesn't have a chance. Ino said doubtingly. Two Chunin, Kotetsu and Izumo, from the first exam were sitting behind them. For this kid to get this far. Kotetsu said. For a guy that got this far on pure luck, this is the end for him. His opponent is just too tough, Izumo said. This worried Sakura and Ino even more. Kiba turned to the two of them. Don't worry. That's what I thought at first, but you can't go underestimating him, Kiba said. Suddenly, he headed a worried call from Akamaru and turned around to see an Anbu standing in the back corner. What's the Anbu doing here? HMPH. You got anything to say before you lose? Neji said to Naruto. Yeah, you're going down, exclaimed Naruto. All doubt had been erased from him after the talk he had with Hinata a few nights ago. Neji activated his Byakugan. The eyes of a person who totally believes in himself. There is no doubt in him, smirked Neji. Begin, announced the proctor. So sure of yourself. It will make it that much more enjoyable when I send you back to reality, said Neji. Stop all the blabbering and let's fight, exclaimed Naruto. Up in the stands, Hiyashi had taken his seat in the noble's box, along with his second daughter Hanabi. Watch closely Hanabi, there isn't another who was received such thick Hyuga bloodline. Hiyashi said. Even though Hinata was beginning to show some potential, he had to admit that Neji was easily the stronger of the two. This was going to be an interesting fight. Yes father, replied the small 7-year-old Hanabi sitting next to him. Naruto remembered what Kakashi had said back in the preliminaries about the gentle fist fighting style. So basically, I have to fight him from a distance, said Naruto. Naruto made 4 shadow clones and sent them charging at Neji. Shadow clones. That is a Jonin-level technique. For him to use it. Izumo said to his friend. This could be a good fight after all, Kotetsu replied. Shadow clones, thought Neji, analyzing them with his Byakugan. In the waiting box, Hinata also had hers activated and was seeing the same thing Neji was seeing. I see. His chakra is divided evenly amongst them. Even with the Byakugan I cannot tell which one is the real one. 4 Narutos charged at Neji, kunai at the ready. He evaded the first 2, using them to springboard into the second 2, causing the second 2 to disappear. As 2 more clones charged at him from behind, Neji grabbed their hands and elbowed them in the chin, sending them back and causing them as well to disappear. What the hell? Does this guy have eyes in the back of his head? Naruto said, forgetting a few things said about the Byakugan in the preliminaries. So you want to become Hokage, eh? Questioned Neji. Well that's impossible. I can figure out with these eyes. Talent is decided at birth. You could say everything is decided when a person is born. Why the hell do you always decide things like that? Shouted Naruto. So what you are saying is that anyone can become Hokage through hard work. Only a handful of shinobi are chosen as Hokage, explained Neji. Look closely. Those who become Hokage are born into that destiny. You don't become it by trying. It is decided at birth. People must live within their own unchangeable flow. Just give up. The only destiny that every person shares is death. Neji stared at Naruto with coldness in his eyes. In the stands, Hiyashi caught this look. Those eyes. He still holds a grudge against the main family, Hiyashi thought up in the stands. So what? I'm not good at giving up, shouted Naruto, creating a dozen shadow clones in the process. I'm not stupid. I already see your pattern in attack, said Neji as the clones charged him. Neji evaded each clone and charged through the mass. His target was the Naruto standing out of harm's way. Neji charged at that Naruto and hit him just underneath the collarbone, pressing a tenketsu there. Fearing having your pressure points pressed, one body is doing the least amount of attacking. The more you attack, the clearer it becomes. You're the real one. Naruto coughed up a bit of blood from Neji's hit. He then looked up and gave Neji a grin. "And Naruto," Hinata said, worrying from the Constance box. "Hey, I told you to stop automatically deciding things," said the injured Naruto as it disappeared in a cloud of smoke, revealing itself to be a shadow clone. "What?" said Neji, shocked that his eyes had failed him. Two Narutos appeared behind him. By the time Neji realized it, there was no dodging this attack. "Yeah, go Naruto," Kiba howled from the stands. Most of the remaining people in the stands were surprised that the dead last had pulled something like that off. "Naruto, go," Hinata thought, observing alongside Shino and the other finalists. "He anticipated what I was thinking and purposely left on clone back," thought a shocked Neji. "I'm coming at you with everything I got," shouted Naruto, his fist quickly closing the gap between him and Neji. Only an inch or so away from Neji's head, Naruto's hand was stopped by a blast of chakra. Naruto was thrown back by the force as everyone was wondering what had just happened. From their eyes, it looked as if Naruto had Neji there. "That can't be," Hiyashi thought from the stands. "Kaden. The heavenly spin. Father, isn't that?" Hanabi asked. Her father nodded. "No. Naruto had him there," thought a worried Hinata. "Hey. That's Neji's ultimate defense," thought Tenten. "Yes Hanabi, that is the Kaden, a technique passed down through the main family and only through the main family," Hiyashi said. "To master it on his own. Damn, I almost had him," Naruto said, picking himself back up. "It's not over yet. You are within my field of divination," Neji called out, also sending a glare up to Hiyashi in the stands. "Gentle fist. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Shit. I've gotta get away," Naruto thought frantically. He knew about that stance from seeing the beating his clones had taken the past week. But, it was too late. "That stance. It can't be," Hiyashi thought. "What?" Hinata said up in the stands. Even she knew that stance was part of the main family's techniques, and how Neji knew it, she didn't know. Before Naruto could get away in time, he was hit with all 64 of Neji's strikes in a matter of seconds. A branch house member, surpassing the main family. Hiyashi thought in awe. What natural talent. For the brilliant blood of the Hyuga to be born into someone who cannot become the heir. "Hazashi, you should have been the firstborn, Naruto," Hinata said out loud, surprising most everyone in the Constance box. "I have his 64 of your tenketsu, you are no longer able to stand," claimed Neji. "Stay on your knees before a power you cannot change and realize your worthlessness. Having your dreams come true through hard work is an illusion." "Damn it," said Naruto. He thought of Lee, standing up after being crushed by Gaara, and Hinata becoming strong by defying Neji's taunts and insults by defeating a strong opponent. Naruto forced his way to his feet. "I told you, I'm not good at giving up." "Quit. I don't have a grudge against you," Neji stated. "Shut up." "I do," responded Naruto. "If you're this strong, then why have you been tormenting and harassing Hinata mentally? What sort of right do you have to bring others down? Before her match, you called her a loser and said she should just give up and accept her fate. Yet she came through and proved you wrong, and still you stand here and preach about fate. Pieces of shit like you who call others losers, I cannot forgive." "Fine. If you're going to go that far, then I will tell you the true story of the Hyuga family hatred," responded Neji. "From the preliminaries, you know about the main and branch families of the Hyuga. Well, to keep the branch family in check, the main family has a special jutsu, a cursed seal." "Cursed seal?" asked Naruto. "The curse mark represents a caged bird. It's the symbol of being tied down to an inescapable destiny," said Neji as he removed his forehead protector and the medical tape covering his forehead, revealing the caged bird seal on his forehead. Naruto looked in shock. "From the day I was 4, I've had this horrible seal carved into my forehead. It was also on the day of Hinata's 3rd birthday, that the cloud came to Konoha to sign a peace treaty. Now, my father and Hinata's father were born as identical twins, but Hinata's father came into this world just a few minutes before my father did. As such, Hiyashi became a member of the main family while my father was thrown into the branch family. On Hinata's 3rd birthday, I was made a bird in a cage." "Wait, but why did they need that mark?" asked Naruto. "This mark on my forehead is not simply for decoration. This curse is the absolute fear of death," given to the branch families by the main family. With a simple secret hand seal, the branch member's mind can be destroyed. However, death is just as easy, of course. This curse will only disappear after death, sealing up the Byakugan with it, explained Neji. Because the Hyuga household holds a great advanced bloodline, those who go after its secrets are incalculable. With this jutsu, the branch family is allowed to live only to protect the main family. No disobedience is allowed. It is a system created to protect the bloodline of the Hyuga. It is because of that, my father was killed by the main family. Was all Naruto could get out. In the stands, Hiashi just lowered his head. Hinata in a way knew her cousin's pain. Until just recently, her father had completely given up on her and she had lived most of her life without her father's love, all because she was considered too weak to be in the main family. She was even on the verge of being branded into the branch family. However, because of Naruto, she was able to change just a little, making her believe that her father might actually begin to accept her again. The night that Hinata turned 3 and the Kumo ninja came to the village, one of them tried to kidnap Hinata, who possessed an unsealed Byakugan. He was there to sign a peace treaty, but the Hyuga quickly realized that he was only after the Byakugan. Hinata's father killed him during his attempted escape and the Cloud Village demanded Hiyashi's head in return for breaking the alliance agreements. Not wanting war, the Leaf agreed to these terms. However, instead of Hiyashi, my father, Hisashi was killed to protect the main branch. Their destiny that night was decided simply by who was born first and who was born second, just like this fight was decided the moment I became your opponent. Your destiny is to lose to me. Just like it will be Hinata's destiny to fall to me as well, if she even makes it that far. I don't know how much it hurt that your dad was killed like that a long time ago, but thinking that destiny is all decided by that is a huge mistake, claimed Naruto. You thought it was Hinata's destiny to lose back in the preliminaries but she didn't. She changed and showed that she'd strong. Neji had enough of Naruto's ranting and he charged at the boy, landing a strike directly in his chest. Examiner. It's over, Neji said as Naruto slid across the floor of the arena. Neji turned and walked away. Don't run, shouted Naruto. I won't give up and I don't go back on my word. That's my Nindo. And there is no way I will lose to a coward who is always whining about destiny. If you don't like where you are, then change it. Insolent brat. You shouldn't be lecturing, replied Neji. You could never know what it's like to be burdened with a symbol that you can't get rid of. Naruto looked down, thinking of his childhood. At the same time, as if on cue, Sakura and Haku did the same thing, remembering what Naruto had gone through and why the village treated him like such. Actually, yeah I can. And you know what? Naruto said. His answer had struck something in Neji. He could tell that his opponent wasn't lying. So what? Stop acting cool, you're not the only one who's special. Hinata suffered just as much as you. A member of the main family, who was cast aside by her family as being weak, trying to change herself. And you're supposed to be in the branch family, helping her and supporting her, not dragging her down. You know what? Like you did to that Cloud Ninja whose father was responsible for that incident, I bet you would try to kill Hinata as well. In truth, you're trying hard to defy your destiny. Naruto had struck something in Neji, although he wasn't going to admit it. Neji was at the point where he had enough of Naruto's ramble. Hey, I've blocked over 64 of your chakra points. You won't be able to use chakra for a while, how can you fight? In the end, you and Hinata will share the same destiny as losers. Shut up. Stop using that Byakugan to act like you know and can decide everyone's destiny, shouted Naruto. Well, if you think I'm wrong, then prove it. Challenged Neji. Yeah, I'm definitely going to kick your ass, said Naruto. Damn. But I can't feel any chakra. And his preaching about curse marks and such is getting annoying. Wait, that's it. Took you long enough, Kurama said, realizing that Naruto was starting to realize. Yeah. Just lend me your power and let's kick his sorry ass. Naruto said to Kurama. Haha. Now things will get interesting, replied the fox as he allowed a little of his chakra to flood Naruto's system. It wasn't enough to put any major strain on the seal or activate the chakra cloak, but it was more than enough to revitalize Naruto's chakra system. Naruto made a sign as he began to channel the chakra through himself. It's useless. Your points are pressed and you can't channel any more chakra, Neji claimed. Unfortunately Naruto, he is right, Hiyashi thought to himself in the stands. If this is all you have, then why did I take an interest in you? Before you lose, can I ask you one thing? Why do try so hard to go against destiny? Asked Neji. Because I was called a loser, replied Naruto. Soon, a red chakra began to swirl around Naruto. I am possible. How is chakra flowing out? Neji asked. Both Hiashi and Hinata were watching the same thing with their Byakugan and also saw Naruto's system flood with a red chakra. It can't be, thought Hiashi, looking on. Elsewhere throughout the stadium, a few other spectators began to feel the surge of the Kyuubi's chakra spreading through Naruto. Father. Hanabi asked, tugging at her slightly stunned father. What is that? That chakra. Neji said as he felt the blast of chakra. Up in the stands, Sakura let out a smile, much to everyone else's surprise. She knew what was going on as Naruto had told her, Sasuke, and Haku. What is this? Hinata asked. That is his true power, Haku said to her. The power to prove himself and the power to protect those precious to him. He was going to leave it at that as it was not his place to be revealing that sort of stuff. With the boost of power given to him by Kurama, Naruto began his attack, taking out a few shuriken and launching them at Neji. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, he shouted as his 4 shuriken turned into 100. It was too late for Neji to dodge, so he proceeded to use the Kaiden, hoping to blow them away. He was successful in blocking most of the shuriken, but a few got through before he could get the Kaiden off. Neji had a few deeper cuts in his arms and legs along with 1 or 2 in the side of his abdomen. Neji was now on full alert for that attack and Naruto knew it would be difficult to get Neji again with shuriken. It was finally time to see if his training had paid off. Oh, wait. Exclaimed the Hokage with a growing look of surprise, looking on at what was forming in Naruto's hand. What is that? Most of the other genin were thinking. So this is what Jiraiya-sensei was teaching Naruto. I must say I'm actually impressed that he was able to pull it off, thought Hiashi, watching on. Naruto had done it. The Rasengan was sitting in his hand and it was stable. He began to charge at Neji, with a boost in his speed thanks to some residual chakra from Kurama. Neji, who was still slightly dazed by the shuriken, knew that he wouldn't have the time to dodge this. Rasengan. Kaiden. The 2 attacks met and a massive explosion followed as one figure was sent crashing back into the stadium wall. When the smoke cleared, Naruto was standing in the middle of the stadium, panting but on his feet. From the crater in the wall, Neji fell. The Rasengan had beaten the Hyuga's ultimate defense. Father. What was that? Asked Hanabi, observing the shocked look on Hiyashi's face at the result of that attack. That was known as the Rasengan. It was invented by the Yondaime, explained Hiashi, still stunned that Naruto had actually pulled that jutsu off. Although it had never actually been tested until now, the Yondaime theorized that the Rasengan had the power to even defeat the Kaiden. That theory had just been proven today. Even when injured, to believe in victory and think ahead, the power to believe in oneself. That becomes the power to change destiny, Genma, the proctor thought. This kid understands that and it comes naturally to him. Naruto walked over to Neji. Where did you get that? How did you? Said Neji. That's what happens when a failure doesn't decide to give up. However, unlike me, you're not a failure, you're seen as a genius. And don't give me this destiny crap, explained Naruto. If you're so depressed with what has happened in the past, then do something about it. Winner. Naruto Uzumaki. Genma announced. Naruto suddenly heard an unfamiliar sound coming from the stands. Everyone was cheering and clapping for him. Naruto. You did it. Thought Hinata. Great fight. That was amazing, was what Naruto was hearing from around the stadium as he started jumping and celebrating. Geez, still has enough energy to run and jump around. What a stamina freak, Genma said to himself. Not bad kid, not bad. Even the fox was impressed with Naruto's fight. Naruto's getting stronger and stronger. I can't believe it, but I'm actually kind of jealous of you, said Sakura quietly. A few of the Jonin were impressed that Naruto had been able to pull out the Kyuubi's chakra like that without losing control. To be able to tap in the Kyuubi's power and to be able to use that jutsu, since when did he, the Hokage thought. In reality, only 2 other people in the stands knew about the relationship that Naruto had forged with the Kyuubi. Even a captured bird, if clever enough, will pick the lock on his cage and escape. Its desire to fly freely in the sky, Genma said to Neji as the medics came to collect him. Hiashi wanted to get up and leave. He had something important to tell Neji, but his daughter's match was next and he wanted to see just how strong of an effect this boy, who even he once saw as a demon child, had on Hinata. Will the contestants of the next match, Hinata Hyuga and Shino Aburame, please come down to the arena, Genma announced. Shino had already walked down the stairs and was coming out to the field as Naruto was going into the stands. On his way up, Naruto met Hinata. And Naruto. That was a great match, Hinata stuttered. Naruto just gave her his big goofy grin. Thanks Hinata. That really means a lot. If it wasn't for you, I might not have been able to beat him. Me. What did I do? She responded. It was what you said the other night, about me being a proud failure. Thank you, Naruto said as Hinata began to blush a deep shade of red. Now go on, Shino is waiting for you to fight him with your all and you can't disappoint him, can you? No, I guess I can't after that, she said, gaining a little more confidence as they parted ways. Hinata emerged in the stadium and approached the center. Talk was circulating around the stadium. Another Hyuga was taking the battlefield and this one was from the main branch. She faced Shino in the middle and he could see a little bit uneasiness in her. Normally, a shinobi would capitalize on this, but Shino wanted to fight Hinata at her best and he knew she would not be able to unless she was completely certain of herself. Hinata, I can tell that you are uneasy about fighting me. Why? Shino asked. Because you are my teammate and friend. I don't want to hurt you that badly, Hinata stuttered out. Shino took a deep breath. And it is because I am your friend that you should come at me with everything you have. I desire to see how strong you have become and we deserve to fight this at our full potential, explained Shino, saying more words in that minute than he normally says in a day. Hinata closed her eyes and dropped her head slightly. She recalled Naruto's words about her being kind. Was this what he meant? She thought as the answer came to her. She picked her head back up and looked at Shino. She was ready to prove herself. She was not going to disappoint anyone anymore. Byakugan, she shouted as she activated her eyes. Shino let out a rare smile. He was ready for the fight. Begin, Genma announced. Father, exactly how strong is Ne-san? Hanabi asked. Even I don't know that, Hiyashi replied. While she has been training with me these past few weeks, it is true that she has shown some impressive improvement to her skills. From what I have noticed, I will admit that she's not as strong as Neji, but I've noticed that she's been doing some extra training at the nights. I have a feeling that she has something up her sleeve. Hinata dropped into her gentle fist stance. Inside Shino, she could just barely make out Chi's chakra network as it was being blocked by the charka of his insects. She knew Shino and she knew that she would have to watch out for his insects as they would start draining her chakra. If she got too many on her or this fight lasted too long, Shino would win. She made a charge at him, hoping to take him out before he got a chance to set his insects up. Due to Shino's lack of taijutsu ability, she was able to land a few strikes on him before backing away from the insects coming out of his coat. Huh, she said. I thought I hit some of your tenketsu. In the stands, Hiyashi saw it too. Yes, but I have found a way to defend against your attacks, Shino said as he sent a cloud of insects towards Hinata. Thanks to the training her father gave her, her speed had greatly increased and she darted around the insects, laying another 2 blows on Shino. Like the first attack, she failed to close the tenketsu, but figured out why. I see, you have your insects take the hit inside instead of your tenketsu, she said. Precisely, Shino replied, slightly impressed that she figured his strategy out so fast. Shino sent out even more insects towards Hinata, blocking her vision of him with all the small chakra dots that the insects gave off. She made her way around the insects and charged at Shino. However, she broke off her assault at the last minute, realizing something was wrong. She turned to her side to see the real Shino standing a few yards from her. She diverted her attack to that Shino and landed a few strikes on him. One of her attacks hit while the rest were blocked by the insects. However, she got some insects on her and they were able to drain a small amount of chakra before she could get them off. Impressive, how did you realize that was not the real me? He asked. All I saw was a blur of chakra coming from the other you, she explained. It looked as if it was made up of many different sources of chakra. I soon realized that it was an insect clone, thankfully before it was too late. Shino nodded. He unleashed another swarm of insects from his body and they formed a wall in front of her. The insect clone then cut her off from behind while the swarm that he had initially released to guide her to the clone was hovering above. Soon, they had her surrounded. She was not going to get out of this one without getting a lot of insects on her, which would mean that they would drain a lot of chakra from her, and she didn't exactly have the largest chakra reserves. Ni-san, Hanabi called out from the box. Hiyashi looked on as well. So is this as Hinata? Did the month of training result in this, or do you have something else as I suspect? Hiyashi said to himself, looking behind him at the Hyuga elders who had that look of shame on their face. One Hyuga had already lost today, and to a demon brat, and a second Hyuga looked as if she was about to dishonor the clan yet again. Flashback. Hinata stood on top of the stream at Training Ground 8. Those words she heard from the elders, they really did hurt her. What made it worse was that her father was actually supporting her. After that, she knew that she couldn't lose, or else she wouldn't only disappoint her father, but she would be working right into the elders' hands. What she needed was something that would both impress her father and give her the chance to beat Shino. Being on the same team as Shino, she knew all his abilities, but he knew all of hers. She was standing on top of the water as she realized that training like this not only worked her chakra control, which was probably the strongest aspect of her. While practicing her forms, a slight fluctuation in her chakra caused her feet to destabilize on the surface for a mere second. This was during the middle of one of her strikes, and as such, one of the water droplets got caught in her chakra bursts. Her Byakugan saw it, the water droplet sliced straight into two as her chakra passed through it. Realizing that this was exactly what she needed, she began to work on rapidly expelling fine chakra blasts from her hands in an area that covered all points around her. While she was starting to get the hang of these small rapid bursts of chakra, they still wouldn't be enough if Shino sent out all of his insects. Now, what if she could sustain the attack? What if she could keep expelling the chakra in a fine and precise manner while maintaining the speed and flexibility of when she sent the small chakra bursts out? It took some time. But she was finally able to refine those bursts into fine beams that emanated from the palms of her hands. Using the natural speed and flexibility that she was discovering that she had, she found that she could reach every point around her body. All she had to do now was test it. The following night, Hinata had made her way to a waterfall on the outskirts of the village. Thanks to a fallen tree, she had been able to stop the flow of the water momentarily, long enough for her to get into position. When the water finally reached the point where it was flowing over the tree, Hinata had begun to move her arms in a blur, adding chakra to them to increase the speed at which she could move them. The falling water finally made contact with her chakra beams. No water made it within 2 meters of her. End flashback. Shino signaled for his insects to attack and drain her chakra. His strategy for countering the gentle fist had proven rather effective, as Hinata also was aware that if she got too many insects on her, they would drain all of her chakra. This kept her from engaging too long. He knew that if she kept up the attack, more and more of his tenketsu would eventually be closed as her strikes knocked out more and more insects. Looks like it's over, Hinata, Shino called out as his insects began to move in on her. I'm sorry Shino, Hinata said. Protection of the 8 trigrams. With that, Hinata began to move her arms in a frantic-looking fashion as she expelled thin chakra beams from her palms. Soon, she was surrounded by the same dome of thin, sharp chakra beams from a few nights ago. Father, Hanabi said, looking at her stunned father. What is that technique? Hiyashi couldn't find the words for the move that Hinata had come up with. He was observing the event with his own Byakugan active, and what he saw was amazing. The insects that Shino had surrounding her were being sliced and diced within seconds as what looked like small blades of chakra were surrounding Hinata at every angle. What was this technique? As the dome of cutting chakra came into contact with Shino's beetles, they were cut in half by the sharpness of Hinata's chakra. Shino just stood there stupefied, although it was tough to tell, as Hinata just cut through his insects. Naruto was looking on in awe at that jutsu. Wow, that's amazing, he shouted out. A few of the people in the contestants' box were impressed while Gaara remained rather indifferent, thinking to how he was going to kill Sasuke in their upcoming match. After a few seconds of cutting apart most of Shino's hive, Hinata began to focus her attention on her opponent. From what her Byakugan could tell, most of the insects within his body had left to attack her, leaving his tenketsu vulnerable. She'd put enough energy into her current technique to give her an opening. Gentle fist. 8 trigrams, 32 palms, she said, canceling her protection and slipping into the 8 trigrams. Stance. Before Shino's insects could get to her to stop her attack, it was too late and she began lashing out with her attack. Without any insects to block her chakra bursts, his tenketsu were vulnerable and she was able to close them. Shino crumpled to the ground, unable to move from her attack as his insects returned to their master. Despite the fact that they could give him chakra, the insects did not necessarily know how to open tenketsu and Shino was done. At the same time, Hinata had managed to cut his hive down to roughly 1/3 of its original numbers and he knew that any more attacks with his insects would just be countered by her protection. "Proctor, I surrender," Shino announced. "I am no longer able to move and my insects appear to be ineffective against my opponent." Genma nodded at Shino's submission. Winner, Hinata Hyuga. Most of the crowd stood up and applauded the victorious Hyuga, however to say that some were ecstatic would be an understatement. Naruto was so happy at Hinata's victory that he wasn't watching where he was going. He nearly fell off the railing. If it hadn't been for Haku or Shikamaru grabbing his feet, he would have fallen. Kiba was howling like mad up in the stands and Kurenai was forced to rely on Asuma to control her emotions. As Hinata and Shino left the arena, Genma announced the next match. Before leaving, Hinata looked up at her father, who was giving her applause and the approval from his she was seeking. However, her victory was bittersweet. Looking behind her father at the clan elders, she could still see the looks of disappointment on their faces, unchanged even after that display. Apparently, they still saw her as a failure and it was expected that she should have been able to defeat someone from an inferior clan, as they saw it. At the same time, Hiashi now seriously doubted if Hinata would even be able to put up a fight in her next match and unfortunately, the elders would see this as a sign of weakness if what he feared happened. Quote, "The next match will be Sasuke Uchiha vs Gaara," he announced. "Haha, you won, Hinata," Naruto shouted as Hinata came back to the Constance box. He then proceeded to give her a big hug. If they were in a match, Naruto would have won as Hinata fainted upon that with a clueless Naruto staring down at her. "Will Sasuke Uchiha please report to the arena?" Genma announced as Gaara had already made his way to the arena. However, Sasuke had not shown. "The crowd is becoming quite restless," the Cage said to the Hokage. "Yes, that sure was a great match," replied the Hokage. "I'm sure that is part of the reason, but it's most likely because of this next match. For experienced lords and shinobi leaders, there isn't a match they'd enjoy more," said the Cage, referring to Sasuke and Gaara's match. "By the way, where is he?" One of the Hokage's guards whispered in his ear that Sasuke was still missing. He also mentioned the question of Orochimaru. "What's going on?" Ino said. "Where's Sasuke? Is he even here for his match?" She looked over at Sakura and saw that something was up. "What the heck is that guy doing? Is he even planning on coming?" Shikamaru said. "Of course he's coming, this is Sasuke after all. He's not going to pass up a chance to fight Gaara," replied Naruto. "Sasuke, what's taking you so long?" "We have no choice," the Hokage said. "The rules say he must be disqualified." "Hokage Dono. Please wait a little longer before disqualifying him," requested the Cage. "I beg your pardon, but anyone who takes punctuality lightly doesn't have what it takes to be a chunin," the Hokage's guard said. "Unless there is a suitable reason for the lords to wait, we must go on as scheduled." "I see," said the Cage. "If that is the case, then there is a more than suitable reason. The majority of the shinobi lords are here because of this match, including myself. Sasuke is a member of the Uchiha clan after all, and we of the Wind Country request that our Gaara be given the chance to fight him." "Hokage-sama, what should we do?" asked his guard. "There is no guarantee that Sasuke will come, but at least we can postpone his match until the very end. We will make this exception and have the match later on," said the Hokage. With that, the guard went to inform the examiner. Baki remembered what Gaara said to him a few days ago. Did he really kill him? Baki thought. Hiashi found this little interruption to be a suitable time to finally have a chat with Neji. Neji was in the stadium's infirmary, recovering from the match and reflecting on a few things that Naruto had said. Oh, Hyuga-sama, one of the medics said. "Sorry, but could you leave us alone for a little?" requested the Hyuga lord. Neji struggled to sit up, still sore. "What do you want?" he said harshly. "I came to tell you the truth of that day," Hiashi said. "Truth?" asked Neji. Hiashi nodded. "That day, I was fully prepared to die." Hiashi's comment struck Neji. What are you talking about?" "That time my father was killed to take your place," declared Neji. "The results may appear that way, but that is not the truth," claimed Hiashi. What, after all these years? Replied a disbelieving Neji. I'm telling you after all these years because I thought you would believe me now, said Hiyashi. Flashback. Hiyashi was standing in front of the Hokage and a few members of the Hyuga council, including his brother Hisashi. There is no choice then, if it will prevent another war, said Hiyashi to the Hokage. Hold on Hiyashi, said one of the Hyuga elders. The advanced blood of the Hyuga is a valuable trump card to this village. The duty of protecting it belongs to the main family. But before that duty, if the village is drawn into a dangerous situation, said Hiyashi. I know, replied the elder. That is why the branch family exists. We will hand over Hisashi's body in place of yours. He has already agreed. But what they want is the secrets of the Byakugan. Once Hisashi is killed, they will be sealed away, stated Hiyashi. No. All we agreed to was to hand over the body of Hiyashi Hyuga, claimed the elder. If we act like we agreed and hand over Hisashi's body, which is an exact duplicate of yours, they won't be able to complain any further. Hiyashi did not agree with this plan, especially sacrificing his brother in his stead. Hiyashi, the time must come for each generation where they must protect the Hyuga blood in this way. You must have the heart to let go of even a sibling to protect that blood. That is the destiny of the main family and that's the destiny of those born as Hyuga. Hisashi spoke up. What happened to the always valiant Hiyashi-sama, taunted Hisashi. This is different than anything from the past. I can't. Hiyashi was cut off as Hisashi slammed his palm into his brother's stomach. Please let me go, Hisashi said. Why? You have Neji. Hiyashi managed to get out, trying to catch his breath. Why for the main family do you choose death? That's incorrect, stated Hisashi, shocking both Hiyashi and the elder. I have always hated the main family and I still do. That is why I am doing this to save you as my brother, not a member of the main family. This is the first time I have had the freedom to choose. I have only shown my ugly side to Neji. Yet here, I finally understand my own will. The entire room remained silent at Hisashi's comments. Please tell Neji this. I am not being killed to protect the main family. To protect Neji, my brother, my family, and the entire village, I choose death by my own will, explained Hisashi. Hiyashi couldn't quite understand. Choosing death is freedom. Brother, I wanted, just once, to disobey the Hyuga destiny, that is all, Hisashi stated. End flashback. That is the whole truth, said Hiyashi as he told his story to Neji. Why should I believe a story like that? Shouted Neji in disbelief. It's some lie made up by the main family. After all these years. I thought that was what you were going to say. That is why I waited after all these years to tell you until now. I wanted to tell you Hisashi's final words, not as a member of the main family, but as his brother. Neji looked down, taking it all in. When he looked up, he saw something no branch member had ever seen before. Hiyashi was bowing before Neji, begging for Neji to believe him. Please, raise your head, said Neji calmly. Hiyashi left the room, but not before giving Neji a letter in his father's handwriting, explaining everything in his own words. Father. Is a person's destiny a thing like a cloud flowing with an inescapable flow? Or can a person choose the flow he wishes? Neji thought. I still don't know the answer. Either way, the destination may be the same in the end. However, by choosing to live like the latter, a person can live and strive towards a goal, and in this match I finally understand that those who have that are truly strong. Father, I now have but one goal. I want to become stronger so that I may not lose to anyone ever again. Oh, Hinata. What are you doing down here? Hiyashi said, running into his daughter down in the infirmary. I was just making sure Shino was okay, Hinata replied. She was wondering if she would get something more from her father for once. However, after some time, Hiyashi remained silent. She decided to return to the competitor's box. Hinata. Hiyashi said, causing his daughter to stop. That technique, what was it? Well, it was what I was working on outside our training sessions. I call it the protection of the 8 trigrams, she explained. I needed something to defend against Shino's insects and I came up with that. Unlike the Kaden, which utilizes a chakra pulse to repel attacks, the chakra is so thin that it cuts whatever hits it instead of pushing it away. I see, Hiyashi said, pausing for a moment, worrying Hinata a little. It was good. I was impressed. Hinata picked up her head, glad that her father had finally begun to recognize that she did in fact have talent as a shinobi. Now, go back to the stands, the other matches should be starting soon and you shouldn't miss them. Back in the stadium, the Hokage's guard had informed Genma to proceed to the next match and to postpone Sasuke's match to the end of the first round. Some of the crowd was upset, but it was better than there being no match at all. For Gaara, at least there would still be an opportunity to kill Sasuke. Alright, we will go ahead with the next match. Haku Yuki and Yugito ni, please step down to the arena, Genma announced. As the two of them proceeded to the arena, Hinata made her way back to the Constance box. Hey Naruto, Hinata, you know the two of you are going to have to fight, right? Shikamaru stated. Fight NN Naruto. Hinata thought, her mind going blank. Naruto wasn't sure what to make of it either. He didn't want to hurt Hinata, but at the same time, he didn't want to forfeit. Now, both he and Hinata almost regretted winning their match. Temari was getting quite a laugh as the two of them went completely silent and Hinata turned red. Begin. Genma announced as Haku and Yugito began their match. Yugito made the first move by launching her Kaden, fiery Hellcat Jutsu at Haku. Sushin. Water wall. Haku said, creating a wall of water in front of himself to block the flaming cats. Damn. I guess he can use water style ninjutsu since he can use ice style. And I'm a fire style user. This will be difficult, not to mention that I can't exactly use the power of the Nibi to freely, Yugito thought. Quote, yes, sadly I cannot help. From what I understood with Naruto, he was even pushing it by tapping into Kurama's power. Although I can give you a little bit. Kurama mentioned that was enough to defeat Haku's ice style. Matabi said to Yugito. Now, Haku was aware of Yugito being a Jinchuriki, after their encounter in the Forest of Death. As such, he was being cautious around her, knowing that Naruto was able to defeat the ice style by tapping into his demon's chakra. Hyoten. Ice prison. Haku shouted while Yugito was still in conversation with her demon. Ice shot towards Yugito along the trail of water on the ground that had been laid while Haku was using the water wall. The ice surrounded Yugito, encasing her in a block of ice. The entire audience stared in awe at Haku's ability. Many of them were simply not familiar with ice style and they were interested to see its true ability. What was the technique? Ino asked Sakura. It's his ice prison. One of the techniques I helped him develop over the past month, Zabuza said, joining the group in the stands. Needless to say, the former demon of the hidden mist got a few looks. Some people, especially those from out of town, did not expect to see him here, let alone wearing a Konoha headband. Ice. Ino and Kiba asked. Yes, the Hyoten are ice style. It's a bloodline that belonged to the Yuki clan before they were all but eliminated during the Hidden Mist's bloodline purges. As far as I know, Haku is the only one left who has the bloodline, explained Zabuza. But Zabuza, I have heard that there are ninja in the land of snow that can use ice-style jutsu, Asuma said. Yes, I am aware of that. However, Haku's bloodline is the true Hyoten, and is more powerful than their ice-style jutsu, explained Zabuza. Wow, so Haku is really that powerful, asked Ino. Zabuza just nodded to her question. Damn, thought Yugito. Looks like I am going to have to tap into your power, Matabi. With that, Yugito felt some of Matabi's chakra flood her system. This is all I can give you. Remember, we were warned by the Raikage not to use it, hoping to keep this fact relatively secret. We jeopardized it by talking to Naruto, but it appears as if he hasn't told anyone, replied the ghost cat. While she was a Jinchuriki fully capable of controlling her beast, Yugito being a Jinchuriki was completely unknown outside the hidden cloud, with the exception of Team 7. The Raikage wanted to keep it that way as he wanted to have one secret weapon if the time came that Killer Bee, the Jinchuriki of the Hachibi and the only other Jinchuriki besides Naruto and Yugito to be in good standings with his beast, wasn't enough. This was why she couldn't fully tap into the Nibi's power this time around. With the demon chakra, Yugito was able to break out of Haku's jutsu and charged forward at high speeds. Haku was prepared for this and had already frozen most of the water puddled on the ground. Thanks to the blood limit, Haku was able to walk on the ice without slipping. That was not the case for Yugito. Haku just sidestepped her as she slid by. When Yugito finally was able to stabilize herself, Haku had already prepared his next attack. Hyoten. Ice prison. The ice slowly began to encase Yugito, but she was able to break free as the demonic chakra was still flowing through her system. Kaden. Fiery claws. Yugito said, creating claws of fire on both her hands and feet. She darted at Haku, claws at the ready. Thanks to the heat generated from the claws, the ice beneath her feet melted almost instantly, giving her some traction on the ice. She thrusted her claws towards Haku, impaling him in the chest. "Hey, got you," she said. "Haku," Naruto shouted up in the competitor's box. "No, she didn't get him," Hinata said, her Byakugan active. "There is no chakra network in that Haku, it's just a water clone." "Huh," Naruto said. "But I thought all clones had chakra networks, like my shadow clones." "And no. Shadow clones are one of the few clone types that exhibit a distinct chakra system," explained Hinata. As Hinata explained, the impaled Haku burst into water, revealing it to be a water clone, soaking Yugito in the process. "Hyoten! Ice prison!" shouted Haku as Yugito was instantly frozen. Unlike the last time, the ice did not creep have around her as she was already soaked in water. Instead, she was instantly frozen. Haku managed to leave her head unfrozen as he walked up to her and held a senbon to her neck. "Surrender," Haku said, giving Yugito only one option. "Damn. I can't use any more demonic chakra without giving anything away, and it's as if this ice is frozen into me, not around me like the last times. I can't move," thought Yugito, in a tight position. "Fine. I surrender. Winner. Haku Yuki," Genma announced as cheers erupted from the stadium. "An interesting ability that one has," said the Cage. "Yes, I would agree. And he demonstrated rather good mastery of it as well," the Hokage said. That girl is a boy," the Cage thought, slightly disgusted at his own train of thoughts. Haku unfroze Yugito, who had to then go to the infirmary to be treated for a major case of frostburn. "This ice kid's not bad," said Kotetsu to Izumo. "Yeah, he showed a good mastery at using his abilities and even showed that he was a fairly good strategist, coming up with the idea of using the water clone to soak her and increase the potency of his ice," commented Izumo. Zabuza overheard their conversation and smiled a little. While they had not completely hit Haku's abilities, they were rather close. Knowing that she was next, Temari whipped out her fan and floated down to the middle of the arena. "Looks like you are eager to start," said Genma. "Shikamaru. Get down here. What's she getting all excited about? I wish she would just die," thought Shikamaru, who obviously didn't want to be there. "Well, I guess I could forfeit and, let's go Shikamaru," shouted Naruto as he pushed Shikamaru over the railing and onto the floor of the arena. Apparently, Naruto had gotten over the fact that he had to fight Hinata next and wanted to get to Shikamaru's fight. That had to hurt, thought Temari, watching the whole ordeal. "Hey, hurry up and fight," the crowd yelled as they started to throw stuff at Shikamaru, who was lying on the ground still. "Everyone wants to see Sasuke's fight. They are probably angry because after all this waiting, they have to watch this fight," sighed Shikamaru. He then looked at his opponent. "Troublesome. What are you giving up already?" asked Temari. "Well, it's not like he was motivated to begin with," said Asuma to the group of Konoha ninja in the stands. "Good luck, Shikamaru," shouted Naruto. "Fine, if you won't come at me, I will," shouted Temari as she charged. "Oh man, that girl is really revved up," said Shikamaru as he pulled two kunai from his back pouch. Temari slammed her fan down on top of Shikamaru, kicking up a cloud of dust. "Ya know, I really don't want to fight, and I don't care if I become a chunin or not, but I'm not going to lose to a girl." Shikamaru was up against the wall, about 3 feet off the ground, using the kunai to support him. Temari opened her fan and sent a gust of wind sailing towards Shikamaru. "HMPH, he's good at running away," she said as Shikamaru dodged the attack, running into the trees. "Can't have a guy lose to a girl, but even so, I can't go around hitting her," he said. "Yeah, Shikamaru. Beat her up," Ino said, slipping into crazed fangirl mode. He's a ninja who uses shadows, so he's probably trying to lure me into those trees," thought Temari, analyzing Shikamaru's techniques. "Hey Ino. Wasn't it supposed to be Sasuke's match next?" Choji asked, depressing Sakura in the process. "Best to leave her alone right now," Ino thought, looking over at Sakura. "Hey, Shikamaru in the finals seems really out of place, doesn't it?" said Choji. "Don't say that," argued Ino. "Sure, he may not have many special techniques, but he's great at coming up with strategies. I get the feeling that is how we were able to survive until the finals." Yeah, but he'll give up soon," said Choji, munching on a bag of chips. He thinks things are too much of a hassle. I'm telling you, he's definitely going to give up soon. And I'm saying he won't, said Ino, getting into the match. Just now, he jumped down into the ring on his own, so he must be fired up. Go Shikamaru. That's because Naruto pushed him off the ledge, Kiba thought. Back in the ring, Shikamaru had been staring up at the clouds for the past 5 minutes. And I only became a ninja because I thought my life would be more interesting as one, he thought. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the hole that Naruto had made back in his match. I guess things aren't going to be that simple. Wondering what Shikamaru was doing, Temari sent a huge gust of wind towards Shikamaru. Even the audience felt the gust. As her gust subsided, a shadow came bolting out of the woods towards her. Temari backflipped out of the way, coming to a stop once it couldn't reach any further. I've seen through your shadow possession jutsu, she said. Looks like there is a limit to how much you can stretch and shrink your shadow. No matter how much you change and shape your shadow, you still can't stretch it any further than the surface area of your original shadow. Right, so she figured it out, thought Shikamaru. Temari analyzed Shikamaru's technique, taking into account the size of the wall's shadow and her distance from it. Suddenly, Shikamaru made a seal with his hands. No one recognized it, except Asuma. What's that seal? Kurenai asked. It's not a seal, replied Asuma. It's more like a habit. He knows how to slowly take his time. He actually enjoys it, like one of those old geezers. That's why he enjoys stuff like shugi. I've played against him a lot recently and he always does this when backed into a corner. It's a sign that he's working on some strategy. As a result, I've never beaten him before. Kurenai looked at him as if he were a little crazy. You speak of strategies, but this is a real fight, she said. Yes, but it is said that those games have their roots as devices for tacticians to plot their wars with, explained Asuma. I guess you could say that Shikamaru's a shrewd tactician. Shrewd. Hold on a minute. His grades were no better than Naruto's, said Kurenai. He always said those testes were too much of a hassle to even move the pencil on paper. It seems like he would always sleep through his tests, explained Asuma, with Kurenai and the other genin listening in. Quote, once, it struck me that he could be so good at strategic games and have poor grades. So I had him take an IQ test disguised as a game. So, how was it? Asked Kurenai. Asuma let out a little laugh. He sure is a diamond in a rough. He's a super genius with an IQ of over 200. 200, said Kurenai. The other genin, with the exception of Kiba, who didn't really know what IQ meant, were shocked. Choji wasn't sure of the meaning of this IQ thing either, but he knew the full range of Shikamaru's intelligence as they had been best friends ever since childhood. Shikamaru released his hands, indicating that he was done. Seeing that he was done as well, Temari whipped her fan, creating another massive gust of wind. When it subsided, a kunai came flying at her, which she blocked with her fan. Then, Shikamaru's shadow struck again. She thought she was safe as she was behind her safety line, but when the shadow didn't slow down, Temari had no choice but to start backpedaling. Very good, you saw through it, said Shikamaru. I see, you were buying time for the sun to drop lower so that would increase the length of your shadow, explained Temari. Temari. Above, shouted Kankuro from the stands. Everyone looked up to see what Kankuro was talking about and Temari saw it. Shikamaru had tied his coat to a kunai as a parachute. After a few seconds, another shadow appeared on the ground where the tip of Shikamaru's shadow was, allowing it to extend forward more towards Temari. Thanks to quick reflexes, Temari was able to backpedal away from this one as well. Eventually, she stopped as Shikamaru's shadow could not stretch anymore. Damn, his plan wasn't good enough, Kurenai said. Yeah, his opponent is pretty bright too, explained Asuma. This isn't good. As time passes, his shadow gets more of a reach, Temari said. I'll end it right here. Temari made a hand seal, but was stopped mid-seal. What? Everyone looked on at what had just happened. Hey, finally. Shadow possession jutsu is a success, claimed Shikamaru. She didn't know what just happened. She was sure that she had evaded all his attacks. Suddenly, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a second kunai hit the ground with his shirt attached to it. The first one had just been a distraction from the second one and he used the first kunai with his jacket to push Temari more towards the second one. Hey, checkmate, Asuma said. In the arena, Shikamaru moved Temari against her will towards the center of the arena. Suddenly, everyone's into this fight, Izumo thought. The guy nobody took seriously just became a dark horse, Kotetsu thought. Yeah, do it, Shikamaru, shouted Ino. Next to her, Choji's pace of eating had increased dramatically. I give up, Shikamaru announced. What? Could be heard from all over the stands. Naruto and Ino almost lost it. Hey, I told you he'd give up, said Choji, his pace returning to normal. What? Tamari said. I give up, repeated Shikamaru. I barely have enough chakra to hold this jutsu for 10 more seconds. I had about 200 more moves planned out, but I'm out of time. Besides, I'm getting tired of this, one match is enough for me. Winner, Tamari. Genma announced as Shikamaru recalled his shadow. That's child's intellect is well beyond that of a genin. If it was an actual 4-man team, Shikamaru's victory would have been definite the moment he caught her, thought Kurenai. It's like he won the battle, but lost the match. While it's true and unfortunate that he does not have any motivation, you could say it allows him to stay calm and collected while making decisions, thought Asuma. Because he knows his own strengths, he doesn't panic and doesn't lose his cool, allowing him to stay calm. When you talk about the mental makeup for a chunin, Shikamaru has the most important abilities that would make for a good leader. When you measure the value of a small unit leader, protecting the team from danger is usually more important than completing the mission, said Izumo. In information gathering you can't be saying, I completed my mission, but my team was wiped out, said Kotetsu. You need a leader that can balance the risks, sacrifice and mission on scale. If you can't act and think with the lives of the team as the top priority, you don't have what it takes to be a chunin. Well, on that point, Naruto and Neji were no good. I don't think Hinata is ready yet and neither is Shino. Haku, possibly. He has talent and potential, but I'm not sure yet, Izumo said. What do you think? He's got a better chance than Naruto, Kotetsu replied. At that time, Naruto jumped down into the arena to lecture Shikamaru about giving up like that. Why'd you give up? Naruto said. Forget about it, let's just enjoy the next fight, replied Shikamaru. Naruto had forgotten that Sasuke's fight was next and got all excited. Oh, you're here, one of the arena guards said greeting their guest. Okay, let's go Lee, shouted Guy. The two had made it just in time for Sasuke and Gaara's match. The first round has almost been completed, only Sasuke and Gaara's match remain, the guard said. The Naruto and Neji match was. Lee said, wondering who the victor was. It's surprising, the Hyuga lost that match, although the other Hyuga won her match, informed the guard. Haku beat the Kumo girl in the last match, well, Shikamaru won, but forfeited, saying it was too much work. Lee and Guy had a laugh at the last comment. The entire Nara family was known for their laziness and Shikamaru was no exception. However, what impressed them the most was Naruto's victory over Neji. Where's the Uchiha? The crowd shouted, anxious for the next fight to begin. In the Constance box, Gaara began to head down to the arena. Is he really going to come? Asked Tamari. Yeah, he'll come, replied Gaara. Suddenly, a swirl of leaves appeared in the middle of the arena. When it cleared, there was Kakashi standing with Sasuke. Sorry we're late, said Kakashi. For some reason, Naruto wasn't surprised by this. Sasuke, Lee said, finding his seat in the stands with the rest of his friends. Everyone was glad to see him out of the hospital and walking. HMPH, from your excitement, you won the first round, Sasuke asked Naruto. Of course, Naruto said with a big grin. Sorry for the tardiness, I hope Sasuke hasn't been disqualified, said Kakashi. Don't worry, you're just in time. We pushed his fight to the very end, Genma said. And your tardiness is starting to rub off. That's good, said Kakashi. He left Sasuke in the arena and proceeded to the stands. Naruto and Shikamaru wished him good luck and proceeded back to the competitor's box. Sakura, I hate to admit, but your team is pretty amazing, Ino admitted. Huh, said a confused Sakura. Well, Naruto won his first match, Haku has that cool ice ability, and now Sasuke. Ino squealed at the last part. Next to them, Lee was hurting. Sasuke was now fighting Gaara and Naruto had just beaten Neji, his rival. Yet Lee was stuck with a crippled arm and leg and his career as a shinobi in doubt. Only his sensei could see his student's pain. As Naruto and Shikamaru were walking up, they heard two screams coming from the hall. Once the screams stopped, Gaara came calmly walking out. Naruto and Shikamaru were horrified at the act Gaara just committed. If those two hadn't been there, we would probably be dead, said Shikamaru, Naruto agreeing with him. I've never seen a guy who could kill with so little hesitation, even Sasuke could be in trouble. We've gotta go find Kakashi-sensei and have him stop the match, Naruto said. Hey a guy, and you too Lee, your body alright? Kakashi said, coming up to the stands. Kakashi-sensei, Sakura thought, showing a little bit of anger on her face. Sakura must be pretty mad at him, Ino thought, looking at her friend. Begin. Genma announced as the match began. Gaara's sand was already pouring out of the gourd, causing Sasuke to back away. Gaara bent down and clutched his head in pain, the demon inside him, becoming even more bloodthirsty. Mother, I am sorry I fed you some nasty blood earlier, but his will be delicious, said a sadistic Gaara. What the hell, thought Sasuke. The realization came to him that this match, someone was going to die. Damn, conversation has begun, said Kankuro, who was joined by Temari in the stands. I've never seen him like this before. It's going to get bad, said Temari. Sasuke threw a few shuriken at Gaara, only for the sand to block them. Gaara's sand proceeded to take on a human shape, effectively becoming a sand clone. It shot some sand out at Sasuke, who dodged the attack. Sasuke engaged the sand clone, only for his hand to get caught. Before Gaara could do anything more to the trapped Sasuke, he freed himself from the sand with a thrust. Sasuke resumed his assault, attacking Gaara, but quickly moving behind him, just as Lee had done in the preliminaries. Fast. Just like him, Gaara thought, recalling the earlier fight. Sasuke was too fast for the sand and landed a punch on Gaara's face, cracking the sand armor. His taijutsu is the same as mine, thought Lee. Imitating Lee's style, Sasuke continued the assault, landing a few more blows on Gaara. His speed is like that of Lee's without the weights, thought Guy. He looked over at Kakashi, who just returned a smile. What did you do, Kakashi? Sasuke, you are a genius that surpasses my imagination. How many years did it take for me to gain that speed? And yet only a month for you, thought Lee. However, he noticed Sasuke panting. But as expected, keeping up that speed requires a great amount of stamina. What kind of training did you do? Guy asked Kakashi. To come this far in only a month. I had Sasuke copy Lee's taijutsu earlier. During training I had him working on Lee's style, Kakashi said, confirming Guy's suspicions. It was a lot of work, but because he had seen Lee in action before, he was able to copy him. Why did you bother only on training his taijutsu? Kaden. Fireball jutsu, shouted Sasuke, backing away from Gaara and shooting his fireball at him. The fire made contact with a wall of sand, however, Sasuke noticed something. Small chunks of sand had turned into glass and fell away from the wall. This was what he was looking for, only he needed a more powerful flame to get most of the sand. Kakashi-sensei, shouted Naruto as he and Shikamaru arrived in the stands with Shikamaru dropping to his knees panting. Hinata followed closely behind, wondering what was up when Naruto and Shikamaru went racing through the contestants' box. Stop the match now. That Gaara kid's not normal. He's a Jinchuriki who's gone completely bloodthirsty and insane. His only purpose in life is to mindlessly kill others. Most of the genin in the stands were confused by Naruto referring to Gaara as a Jinchuriki, not knowing what exactly it was. However, the Jonin, Chunin, and Sakura had looks of fear on their faces, now realizing what Sasuke was up against. Kakashi regained himself. Don't worry Naruto, we weren't late for nothing, said the copy ninja. Out of the corner of his eyes, he caught Sakura's reaction to Naruto's claim. If he knows what a Jinchuriki is, then he knows about the Kyuubi. However, Sakura, she seems to know, but how? What do you mean, not late for nothing? Sakura asked. We don't have time for this, shouted Naruto. Just be quiet and watch, Kakashi said. Gaara began to wrap himself in a cocoon of sand and Sasuke saw this as his opportunity to eliminate most of Gaara's sand. Gathering his chakra, he flipped through about a half-dozen hand seals. Kaden. Dragon fire breath, he declared as the flamethrower shot towards Gaara, encasing him in flames as if he was being baked. Did that, said Sakura, wondering if that last attack had managed to do some serious damage to Gaara. Once the flames cleared, it was obvious as to what Sasuke had done. Most of the cocoon had become glass, except for a small layer of sand near the very core. Wait, what just happened? Asked Naruto. Naruto, what happens when you superheat sand? Asked Kakashi. Naruto didn't know the answer until he looked at Gaara. Oh, it turns into glass, he said, realizing what Sasuke's strategy had been. Ah, just like good old times. I miss the days of turning the Ikibi into a glass statue, joked Kurama. Although, his fire wasn't quite powerful enough to bake the entire ball. Back in the arena, Sasuke was going to end it right here. He took a few steps back as the glass began to flake away from the cocoon. After finishing the hand seals, Sasuke's hand began to glow a yellow-blue color and a chirping noise could be heard. No way. Is that? Said Guy, watching Sasuke's jutsu. Kakashi. Zabuza asked. From the looks of it, that was the same jutsu that he was almost impaled by in the Land of Waves. The reason I trained Sasuke is because he's the same type as me, stated Kakashi. Most of the genin in the stands were amazed at Sasuke's new technique. Now I see why you trained him in taijutsu and greatly raised his speed, Guy realized. Sasuke began his charge. What's going on? Asked Sakura. You can clearly see the chakra in his hand. Yeah, I'm going to rip his head off. And then I'm going to crack it open so you can have all the blood in it, said Gaara to his inner demon. I'm such a good boy. I just want to make you happy, mother. Everyone looked on as the Uchiha charged at the sand glass ball, his hand charged with a crackling chakra. What's the technique and sound? Asked Sakura. A simple stab, explained Guy. But it's the Leaf's #1 tactician, copy ninja Hitaki Kakashi's only original technique. A technique designed specifically for assassinations. Because the chakra is concentrated at hand and the speed of the user, it gives off that chi-chi-chi sound. 1,000 birds running towards you, that technique is called. Sasuke's hand impaled the ball, as it was now leaking some blood. Sasuke had drawn Gaara's blood. Chidori, or the lightning edge, Guy said. Given that nickname when Kakashi cut a bolt of lightning with it, everyone stood in awe at Sasuke's attack and Zabuza was now aware of what he had managed to avoid just a few months ago. Sasuke's Chidori cut through the remaining ball of sand like butter, impaling Gaara in the shoulder and causing him to actually bleed for the first time in his life. A scream of pain could be heard through the stadium as feathers began to fall from the sky. The time had come for Orochimaru's forces and the sand to make their move. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.